So another day, and to nobody's surprise, more transfer portal news. Because we're at the stage of the transfer portal now where guys have taken their visits and decisions are starting to come down. And because of that, today, we need to talk about a former Oklahoma quarterback who will be continuing his college career at Wisconsin. We also need to talk about two guys who transferred from the Alabama Crimson Tide, a former 4-star wide receiver and a former 5-star tackle, and a destination that looks to be trending for both of them. Before we can, though, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. And with early signing day right around the corner, do you think we're about to see a lot of transfer portal decisions come down? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And I know this sounds like an absurd goal, but I want to see how close we can get to 20,000 subscribers before the new year. I know, lofty expectations, but y'all's support has been unbelievable, and I think we can get close. So, with all that being said, let's hop right into it. And we need to start with Nick Evers, former quarterback out of the state of Texas who committed to Oklahoma out of high school and is now going to be continuing his college career at Wisconsin. And I think this is a fantastic fit, both for Evers and for Wisconsin. Nick Evers was a 4-star blue chip guy coming out of high school, a very coveted quarterback, someone who, if you turned on the film, it was very apparent they have a high ceiling. And whenever we look at what Wisconsin is transitioning into with Luke Fickell there now, I think it makes complete sense. Stylistically, Evers is the type of quarterback Fickell has gone after. If we look at Fickell's offenses in Cincinnati, I think it's going to be a 1-to-1 in terms of stylistic approach. And so I'm really excited to see what Evers is able to do. But at the end of the day, I think it makes complete sense that Nick Evers would look elsewhere, especially that Dylan Gabriel looks to be coming back, and the Oklahoma Sooners have identified and successfully recruited a 5-star quarterback in Jackson Arnold, who is unbelievably gifted. It's going to be a loaded quarterback room, and even though, as we saw this year from the Oklahoma Sooners, you want that quarterback depth, I think the writing was on the wall, and I'm excited to see what Nick Evers does at Wisconsin because, like I said, I think it is a perfect fit. I think it's going to be really fun to watch, and it's going to be interesting to see Luke Fickell make this transition to Wisconsin now that he has a quarterback that stylistically matches what he wants to do. So very excited to see what other moves Wisconsin makes in the transfer portal and excited to see what the future holds for Nick Evers. But now we need to talk about two guys who've transitioned and transferred from the University of Alabama. The first being former 4-star wide receiver JoJo Earl, the second being former 5-star offensive tackle Tommy Brockermeyer. And this is an interesting situation. Both of these guys are from the DFW Metroplex, and TCU looks to be a team that's trending for both of them. And I think if you're TCU, that would be massive wins. TCU is a team that took the nation by storm this year, really is the ultimate Cinderella story in college football, especially with Max Duggan and his story, the way this year has unfolded for him. TCU is just a great feel-good story, but if you're the Horned Frogs, you understand that an opportunity is in front of you. Texas and Oklahoma are only in the Big 12 for a very limited time. Once they make that move to the SEC, there will be a vacuum. Who's going to take their place? Now, obviously, we're not saying anybody's going to be able to replicate the revenue Texas generates. That's just going to be facetious. But who's going to take their place on the football field? Who's going to take the place of the Oklahoma Sooners as a team that seems to be a gateway for the Big 12? And if you're TCU, your biggest question is why not us, especially after the season we just had. Sonny Dykes is here. Offense is humming. Excitement is at an all-time high. Why not us? And the greatest way for you to ensure that it can continue being TCU, utilize the transfer portal. Recruit at a very high level. Now, it is unfortunate that TCU loses Brian Carrington as he makes his way to Arizona State, but inevitably, if they can continue recruiting well, they're going to be in good shape. And one thing TCU has going for them is location. Being in the DFW Metroplex. The DFW Metroplex is so talent-rich. TCU has a pitch that's going to be really hard to say no to. We're a premier brand in college football. We're a team that really is making our mark on the Big 12, and once the two teams that are the biggest brands in the Big 12 leave, there's going to be a power vacuum. Who's going to be able to take that? Why not us? You can stay home in the DFW Metroplex, have your family watch you play, and compete at the highest level in the Big 12. That's going to be a really interesting pitch. I'm really intrigued to see what happens, but if TCU is able to land Tommy Brockermeyer and JoJo Earl, huge win for Dykes and the Horned Frogs. Look, being able to keep in-state guys in-state is going to be huge for TCU moving forward, but the transfer portal offers opportunities that previously were not available. And so if a guy that was a former top wide receiver in the nation, JoJo Earl, was a top wide receiver in his class, a top 10 wide receiver, if he's interested in coming there and you have the ability to get him out the transfer portal, do it. That Garrett Riley offense is humming. I have no surprise that skill position guys want to play there. If you have the ability to get a former 5-star offensive tackle out the transfer portal, you do it. The transfer portal affords unique opportunities to teams that are trying to acquire talent. This is not going to be the last time we sit and talk about the transfer portal, far from it, especially with all the big name guys still in there. We will be talking about this very soon, but just wanted to sit down and talk about both Nick Evers going to Wisconsin and JoJo Earl and Tommy Brockermeyer trending to TCU. Let me know what you're thinking down below. That's it. See ya.